Hey everyone, my name is Kyle Wills. I build business with my wife Lauren. We live in Madison, Wisconsin. And coming at you today on this audio to talk about networking, right? That's going to be where your long-term asset is going to be. So, very important topic. Now, before I get into some tips when it comes to that, I want to level set with everybody. You'll hear these terms A-list, B-list, C-list. And if you're still relatively new, you might not exactly know what those are. So your A-list is going to be your family and very close friends, people that you're super tight with, you keep in touch with regularly, all that. Your B-list is going to be everybody else that you've known before, maybe old classmates, old teammates, stuff like that. And then your C-list is going to be everybody else that you meet. And when it comes to meeting and networking, number one, don't make networking weird. This is a very normal thing as an entrepreneur. Every entrepreneur networks, all right? Now, there's going to be two ways that you can go about it. There's what we call face-to-face or in-person networking when you're out and about living your life, right? Look to be a blessing. Look to add value to others. And then there's going to be social media networking. And this is what I want to dig a little bit into for the purpose of this audio here. So, a couple things to talk about at a high level. Understand, right? When you talk about building your C list, both are going to have their own advantages and disadvantages. And when it comes to social media networking, your advantage is going to be the convenience, right? You can be on social media anywhere you are, right? Comfort of your home, whether you're traveling. We all have our phones with us, constantly. So it's very easy to be able to leverage that tool. Now, on the negative aspect of that, right, social media is oftentimes a distraction. So you have to be really careful in regards to that. And the second thing you need to be aware of is the fact that it's going to be harder to build trust and rapport with people you don't necessarily know at this point over social media. All right. Now, a couple other things to take note of when it comes to just like general tips in social media networking. Quantity and quality are important, right? It's not just about blasting out a bunch of messages. Please do not do that. You're going to get flagged on a lot of sites, and you're not going to be able to build that trust in a quality partnership like we're looking for if that's your strategy, right? Quality is really important when it comes to both the individuals that you reach out to and the nature of how you reach out to them. Try to make things customized. Try to make things personalized. That's going to go a lot farther. And then keep in mind, too, that this should not be your sole activity. So if you do get to the point where maybe you find a rhythm on social media networking, that's great. Continue it forward, but also make sure you're supplementing it with A and B lists. Also make sure you're supplementing it with networking in person. All right. Now I want to break down some strategy in three parts: your profile, your activity, and then the messaging itself. So when it comes to your profile on social media, and this could be any platform, I would ensure that your profile picture, in addition to any pictures that you have on there, are casual, are professional. I don't necessarily think even on a professional networking site like LinkedIn, you don't necessarily need like a suit and tie, but it should be a professional photo where you look sharp, right? Maybe a sport coat, maybe a collared shirt, polo button up, something like that. It can be a fine t-shirt, but just like try to make it look, somewhat professional, that people take you serious. The second thing is that you're going to want to show some experience, right? In particular, on a profile like LinkedIn, let's say, make sure you add a lot of experience. If you just have one job, people are going to potentially question your credibility when it comes to that. So as much as you can, dig into volunteer work that you've done, dig into organizations or certifications. Try to give people the best view of yourself as you can, and then make sure you optimize that profile of yours by branding yourself and, most importantly, being authentic. This goes back to the profile picture a little bit, but the selfie with the exotic car that's not yours is not fooling anybody. That's very disingenuous. People are going to see right through that and think that you're fake. Right? So when you talk about the fact, maybe you start getting into the fact that you're an entrepreneur or an aspiring entrepreneur, or you run multiple business, that's fine. Be authentic about it. But I would recommend talking more about value, what you're about, what your goals are, things like that. So again, people can come to your profile and get a sense of who you are. That's really important, especially when people make first impressions quicker than ever these days. It's really important that they can go there and feel comfortable potentially networking with you. All right. Now, second category is activity. And I think when it comes to social media, a lot of people take this approach, unfortunately, of taking from the platform and not necessarily giving to the platform. Meaning, you're networking, you're trying to potentially prospect for candidates in our vetting process, but then you're not like giving anything to the platform. You're not posting, you're not commenting, you're not doing any of these other things. So I would really recommend that you start to do that. If you're maybe not comfortable posting yourself, at least start resharing other people's posts that you agree with, maybe leaving some thoughtful comments on other people's posts. Show individuals, this does two things. Number one, it tells people what you're about. And then number two, it actually tells people that you're active on the platform and not solely using it to prospect, but you're out there genuinely networking and adding value to the community. This is really important because without that evidence, right, a lot of people's flags are going to go up. A lot of people's concerns are going to be like, well, why is this person reaching out to me? They have 5,000 connections. They don't show experience. I don't even see that they post anything or they comment on other posts. Like, what are they trying to pitch me? That question is going to come anyways. But in particular, if you don't show activity and you don't show that you're actually giving back to the platform. And then lastly, the thing that I want to talk about as we, wrap up with this last segment here is the messaging itself. And I spoke to this a little bit initially, but you want to balance efficiency with personalization. Meaning, I personally don't recommend blanket templating out a bunch of messages and sending everybody the same exact thing. I don't think that's a really effective. Yes, you can do a lot of quantity. Maybe you can do it very quickly, but a lot of people are going to see through that. Now, at the same point, you shouldn't be so personalized that it's taking you 5-10 minutes to send an individual message because you're trying to customize it too much. Look to find that balance where you can be efficient in your work. You can initiate those contacts, but you can also make people feel like you took the time to look at their profile. Second thing, be bold. Understand if you're in a conversation with somebody on social media, it is not very high up their priority list. It is very, very far down on that list. And it's not necessarily something that they're waiting for or going. You might have it as a high priority because you're looking to build a business, but they're not. So it's really important that you're interesting. It's really important that you're bold at the cost of maybe having people disagree with you. But I promise you're going to get a lot more engagement when it comes to these conversations if you say things that are maybe, a little bit controversial. Right? Not saying that you should get into topics that are very controversial, but something that somebody says, wow, this person actually believes what they're talking about, and let me dig a little bit more. I'm curious to what more they have to say. And then the last thing when it comes to your messaging, make sure you're prioritizing your messages. A lot of times people start from beginning to end and just work their way up their inbox. I don't think that's a very effective way of going about it. I like to prioritize my messages based on how the conversation is going or based on how the replies. If I'm 3-4 messages deep in a conversation and somebody's talked about, the fact that they're an aspiring entrepreneur and looking to do more, even if that message is way down the list, I'm going to prioritize that more than the person who just, replied to my initiation, hey, nice to connect, and that's it. So make sure you're taking what they say back in addition to how that conversation is progressing and prioritizing them. So you take the most effective conversations first and can move those along. And with that, I know I'm getting close on time, so I'm going to wrap up there. Hope this helped you as you get into that. Again, sync up with your coach and make sure you're talking to them about the strategy that they want to employ. These are just some things that I've found that worked well for me, and wish you all the best.